Good morning, fellow programmers. Thank you for joining me. I'm T-Pain, and welcome to Let's Learn Python. Feel free to use the skip ahead feature on the right-hand side to jump to any specific sections or examples. Today we'll be using both Python 2.7.6 and Python 3.3.3. You can download those from python.org/getit. Today we'll be focusing on regular expressions. This will build heavily on past lessons, so feel free to go back and watch them again if anything is unclear. Alright, so regular expressions, what are they? I am happy. Your foot stinks. There is a walrus in the front yard. These are regular expressions. Okay, that's a terrible joke. Regular expressions is a module provided with Python that allows you to do string searching and manipulation. When you first see it, it will look scary as all hell, I promise you. You can use this tool to comb through tons of text and pull exactly what you want. This is frequently used to do scraping, which is going to a web page and searching through the HTML for very specific things. Alright, so how do we use it? Well, let's go ahead and begin an example. You can use Python's idle. I'm going to be using Sublime Text 2. Okay, and go ahead and save this file in whatever directory you want. I'm going to go ahead and save it in this folder and call it simple example _01. .py, and it's just going to be like 2 lines of code. So we're going to type in import re, and import re is just import the regular expression modules, and then next we're going to type print open parentheses so that it works on Python 3 and above, then type re.split open parentheses r. Now this r is just going to be by itself. It's going to be strange, but bear with me here. And then we're going to type open and close quotations. Now this R right here is basically saying, hey, we're going to evaluate this string differently than we would for regular strings. So now the backslash character is going to mean something different in that, like, you know how \n is typically a new line character for Python strings. Well, it no longer means that following this, since we put that R there. And there's a bunch of other quirks that I'm going to be covering. So next we're going to type \s and then star. So this is our pattern that we're defining, and basically the way that we're going to be breaking up the words that come up next. So we're going to type in a comma, space, and then another set of quotations, and then we're just going to type, here are some words. And that's it. So going back through this \s is basically signifying a space character. And so when it's saying whenever we find a space character and we find any number of them, that's what this star means, this asterisk. It means if there are 0 instances or more of this space character, then we're going to go ahead and split it up. And so what this will do, this split function will actually produce a list, and we're just going to go ahead and print it. So let's go ahead and run it with Control B. Okay, and what it spit out was, here are some words with no spaces in between. Perfect. So you may be thinking to yourself, yeah, but we can do that with like regular Python and just like the split function on strings. Well, there's a lot more power to regular expressions that we're going to be getting into in a bit. So now what I want you to do is, now that we've seen that we can break this up by spaces, include an open and close parentheses around this little statement in the quotations. Okay, now what this is going to do is it's basically saying, hey, group and include whatever we're breaking this up by. So go ahead and save it and go ahead and press Control B again. And now it's saying, it's spitting out a list of here and then the space and then R and then space. And so it's actually including the spaces within the list. Quite cool. Now let's do something else. Let's go ahead and delete that \. character. What do you think that's going to do? Well, it's going to evaluate S as a regular character now. And so it's going to say wherever there is an S and any number of S's, we're going to be splitting it up. So let's save it and then run it. Now we have here are space and then the S and then some words and then S and then a break at the end because there was a split at the end. Beautiful. So now that we've covered like at least basic functionality, let's start building on a more complex example and really start delving into the power of regular expressions. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and comment this line out, and I'm going to punch in a new line. And actually I'm going to go ahead and copy the majority of this part right here so that we have the print re.split function, and then we're starting the statement. And next we're going to type in open bracket A, and then a hyphen, F, and then in the quotations, oops, and then in comma, space, and then start another quotations, and then here I just want you to just hit a whole bunch of letters randomly on the keyboard. Doesn't really matter. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and end those parentheses. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and save and run it. All right, so it looks like we split up this list randomly into sections of letters. Now notice what we put in these brackets. We put A minus F, and what this is saying is A through F. Okay, so we're searching for any instance where there's A through F, so A, B, C, D, E, F. So we have one right here, and that's where there was a split, but there wasn't a split on that capital F. That's because Python regular expressions are case sensitive, and so if we wanted to, we could include a flag right after this, which we will do in a bit, to handle the upper and lower case differences. Okay, so these brackets basically say, hey, there is a range of characters I am looking for to break up. That is very powerful. So instead of like having to just label out each individual letter, we can just say it's a range. It's a range from this to this. It's very difficult to reproduce in the string manipulation of Python. So now let's go ahead and include that case sensitivity that I mentioned before by adding flags. So we're going to add a comma right after this, and then just press enter to jump to a new line. And in this split function right here, it has like this keyword in here that's just for flags, and so we can punch in re.I, and then we're going to do a vertical bar, and then re.m. And what this is saying is re.I is basically saying, hey, just ignore all case fluctuations, or if there's uppercase and lowercase, then just evaluate them as the same character. And what this M is saying is if this set input string is actually multi-lined, we can evaluate it continuously rather than having to evaluate each individual line or stopping after the first line. So what else can we do with these brackets? Well, we can actually, so let's go ahead and run it and see if our flags are working with Control B. Okay, so even with the ignore casing expression right here, it's still actually like not breaking up this F right here. So what we'll go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and add more characters to look for in this pattern that we are defining right here. And so within the square brackets, we're going to include capital A through capital F. Save, and now it'll break it up based on the F's and all the capitalization letters too. Perfect. So if you want to continually add letters, like if we wanted to add numbers in here, we could include that too. And you just keep it all right next to each other, and it becomes very ugly. So we can go 0 through 9, or P through Q if we wanted to, any number of these, and they're all within a single bracket, and so they'll just keep looking for that very specific character in each one. Okay? So you're beginning to see how it could become very messy. But basically, this square bracket is basically saying, hey, look for this character that satisfies this range. So now here's a thought. What if we wanted to check if we had any characters that were like right next to each other? So like say we had C and D right next to each other, or F and A. How would we search for that? The way we would do that is by actually including another bracket range. So what we could do is type A through F again in the same brackets. And so in here I'm going to just type an A, so we know that it's going to split up right there. Save, run, and now it splits at that exact point I pointed out. So now we can look for very specific arrangements of characters. So if I include a C and a D somewhere else in here, save it, it's going to split up that section too, because these ranges are being satisfied. Very cool. Now, let's get into a very complex example. I'm going to go ahead and comment out this line again, enter, paste, and now I'm going to be looking for an address. Let's say like there's going to be some numbers, the street name, and then like an abbreviation for street or something, or avenue or boulevard, whatever it may be. So this is going to get very complex. So first I'm actually just going to type out open close parentheses or open close quotation marks, and then after that I'm going to punch in the string so I know what I'm going to be combing through. Now this is going to be just a random string of letters, and then in the middle of it I'm going to type in 3 numbers, so 3, 2, 4, space, main, space, street, dot, and then just type in some more random letters. Doesn't really matter. Or what we want this split function to do is search for a very specific pattern of a series of numbers, a space, a series of letters, space, and then the street right there. Okay? If you're trying to tackle this without regular expressions, this would be very tough. Very tough. But with regular expressions, this will actually be pretty straightforward and simple. So we're going to go ahead and end the statement so the function will run properly. Now, going to our pattern, this pattern right after the R that we're going to be looking for, the first thing we're going to be looking for is some digits, right? There's a special character for regular expressions that is /D. This \D, it basically says, hey, I'm looking for some digits. So they're basically 0 through 9. That's it. We could easily replace this with a square bracket and go 0 through 9, close bracket. And it would be the exact same thing, but just less characters. So I'm just going to type in \D. And something to note about special characters is if \D is to search for, and this is lowercase d, if this were to search for numbers, then the uppercase of it is the opposite function. So if I typed \uppercase D, it's going to be searching for the reverse of it. So everything but digits. So everything but 0 through 9. So that could be a space, that could be a period, that could be letters, it could be anything. So that's important to note when learning all of these functions. So I'm going to type \D. And next, I'm going to be typing in a range. So actually, let's go ahead and test this out. Control S to save and Control B to run it. Oh, and something I forgot to include is that we're going to be actually changing this split function because split is actually going to be breaking up this string into a whole bunch of chunks. What we actually want is to find instances of whatever this pattern is that we're searching for. So we're going to type find all one word, no capitalization. Go ahead and run that. And now it spit out all the digits that we had in there, 3, 2, and 4 as a list. All right, that's cool. So the next thing we're going to learn about is by searching for ranges. So there are several ways to look for a quantity of something, some pattern. So for instance, earlier we used this star, and the star basically says, hey, look for at least 0 instances or more of this pattern. So it could be completely satisfied if there was like nothing or 1 or 10 or 100. There's also several others instances of determining a quantity. Another one would be the plus sign. And the plus sign says, hey, look for 1 or more instances of this pattern. And then there's a question mark. Question mark says, hey, look for 0 or 1. Only those situations. What we're going to be doing is actually looking for a range. And the way we determine a range is with these squiggly brackets. And the squiggly bracket says, hey, I'm looking for an exact amount of something. And so for an address, we're going to be looking for a range of between 1 and 5 characters, or 1 to 5 digits. And it's going to be saying a minimum of 1 or a maximum of 5 digits is what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and save this and run it. And now it spits out a list of just that 1324 number. Perfect. We're on our way. So again, the squiggly brackets determine the range, and then the \D determines that we're looking for digits. Okay? So after that, we're going to break up because we know that an address is going to have a space in between the numbers and then the street name. So we're going to type in \s to signify a space character. Another special character for regular expressions that you type is \W. And this signifies it could be numbers, it could be letters. Those are the only two that it'll take. And the reason I'm punching in \W is because it could be 5th Street, it could be Main Street, it could be any number of streets. The one thing that we're sure of is that it won't have crazy question marks. And next we're going to type in a star because we know that there will be some number of them. Or actually, since we want a minimum of 1 character to represent the street, it could be a street or 5 street or whatever. We want to include a plus sign. Okay, let's go ahead and save that and run it. All right, so we're on our way. We've got 324, the space included, and then the main right there. And then it stops. Perfect. We're on our way. So after that, we know that there's going to be another space. So that's going to be /S. And then we know there's going to be some random number of letters followed by a period. Could be avenue, could be boulevard, could be anything. And so we're going to type another /W to signify letters or digits. Or again, we're going to type plus because we don't know how many we're going to want, but we're going to want at least 1. and then we're going to stop when we reach the period character. And so we're going to type \period, because period is actually a special character for regular expressions. It represents anything at all, anything, with the exception of a new line character. So that's why we're including the \, to have it evaluate as a period itself. Okay, now let's go ahead and save and run it. Beautiful. We extracted out the address from this random string of letters. Perfect. We got the numbers, we've got the name of the street, and then we ended it at the point where we had the period. Perfect. So this was a really like complex example, and as you can see, looking back at this, you see this /d open close brackets, and then some numbers, and then /w/s. You see it like this can get very confusing if you don't know what regular expressions are. So that's why it's important to look up the documentation. I'll include a link in the description so you can see exactly what characters do what. For now, let's go ahead and jump into an actual practical example. So I'm going to go ahead and save this and go start a new document, and we're going to call this one practical re example.py. Alright, so I already have some code prepared. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste it in. Okay, so what is this code doing? The very first line is for Unix and Linux-based machines, just to make sure that the Python runs properly. Next, we have import re, which is our regular expressions, and import url.lib. Now, in future tutorials, I'm actually going to be covering more on web-based stuff with Python. But for now, just know that it's used to access stuff from the web. So you can grab websites, you can grab HTML code and stuff like that. Okay? Next, I included this strange bit of code, and what this is doing is this is basically making it so the code will run in Python 3.3 or above. Next, I have sites, and what this is I'm actually too lazy to type out the list itself, so I did a shorthand way so that if I want to add more websites or something, then I can actually just type in space and then the name of the website. But these are the websites that we're going to be visiting, and so the way we're going to be visiting is down here below, http://google.com, and that's it. And so it's going to be running through all these guys. The reason I included this split is to turn it into a list and just remove all those spaces. I'm lazy, what can I say? After that, we're going to have a go through each of the sites, and we're going to output, hey, we're searching for this site. And then we're going to try to open up the site by calling, for Python 2.7, we're going to be trying to use the URL open function. Python 3.3 can't handle this, so this is why we're using the request.url.open. It's very strange. I don't know why they changed it over, but that's the way it works. So yeah. And then we're just going to be trying to access those. It's going to output an object U, and then we're going to read in that text file. All right, after we've got the text, then we're going to be going ahead and trying to grab the title of the web page. And the way we're going to be doing that is looking for this less than and greater than sign surrounding the title, and then the \title. And that's it. And then we know there's going to be a bare minimum of one of those, so that's why we include the plus signs. And then we said there's going to be anything in between. So this, you'll see this dot and then asterisk or dot star a lot of places when you start using regular expressions. This is kind of the go-to for, say, hey, look for anything that could be in between these. And then we're going to actually pass in a string of text. Now, sometimes this text may be outputted to a different version of text, and it could be like bytes or something like that. So that's why I included this string to convert it to an actual string. Something to note is that we could actually make this code more efficient by making a pattern out of this and compiling it using the regular expression. The way we do that is right up above. We type something like pat is equal to re.compile, and then we pass in the pattern, which would be this guy right here. And we're just going to replace that with pat. Because we're going to be running through a loop and iterating through all these guys, this would just make the code more efficient. And then I'm also going to remove these flags at the end here and paste them at the end over here. And then we're going to go ahead and delete all that extra space because it's not doing anything. Save it and run, and it'll still work just fine. The other way would not have worked as well because we're going to be iterating through all of these different sites, and it's just a little bit more clean, and it'll be more memory efficient if we use this compiled version of the pattern versus actually having it recreate it every single time during the loop. So that was an example of just how to use the compile function. And then you can pass in that pattern just into the same find all function. You just remove the flags at the end, and then it's good to go. And then at the end of the function, we basically handed a list, so I just want to remove that item from the list and print out the title itself. And so if we look down here below, we can see exactly what was spit out. It says, hey, we're searching Google, and the title of Google is, of course, Google, and the same for Yahoo. Yahoo's Yahoo with a capital Y. And then CNN has like this long string of stuff, and then MSN is msn.com, and yeah, that's it. So there are many more quirks to regular expressions, so feel free to check out the documentation in the links below in the description for more info. And finally, why do we use regular expressions? Well, you can easily pull out what you want from huge volumes of text. We can scrape web pages, emails, addresses, phone numbers, names, or even pictures of Jessica Biel if you really wanted to, using regular expressions. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Great job keeping up. Definitely take a few minutes to investigate these final challenges. You are a brilliant programmer, and I'm sure it'll be a piece of cake for you. The solutions to these problems don't exist because there are many correct answers. Please leave me a comment below if this helped you at all. Please do me a huge favor and subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot to me. Also hit the like button to show some love, and thank you so much for your support, and keep the dream alive.